everything I do, I have to go all in. The whole trajectory of my life changed once I got on a sailboat. But I remember the moment I was up on the deck, just cruising across the lake, and I said to myself, this is it. You found the coolest thing in the world.
Welcome to the Passages from the Heart podcast, a podcast made by an everyday sailor for everyday sailors. We talk everything from day sailing to racing to cruising to camping out on your boat and everything in between. It's time now to raise the sails. What do you get when you cross a small sailboat with big water? You get Mitchell Loner, aka Mitch, as his YouTube followers call him. For over 2 years, Mitch has been providing his YouTube viewers with inspirational, educational, creative, and entertaining content with his popular YouTube channel, Small Sailboat, Big Water. In today's podcast, Mitch shares all sorts of salty tales about not only his journey with sailing, he also shares personal, poignant stories about his journey in life. From his humble sailing beginnings aboard a Flying Scot to his pirate ship, a gaff-rigged Tahiti Ketch, and later aboard his beautiful present-day Com-Pac 23 Maniacal Siren, Mitch has certainly picked up a thing or two along the way where sailboats are concerned. I am so honored that Mitch took some time out of his day to join us here on the Passages from the Heart podcast. I want to welcome Mitch to the Passages from the Heart podcast.
Thank you.
And I'm really excited that you accepted my invitation, Mitch, for you to be here. And so we can talk not just Com-Pac 23s, but sailing and tips and tricks and advice. And actually, you know, it's funny because I, once in a while, I'll get some comments on my YouTube channel, which I know you get a lot of comments on your YouTube channel. Let's tell people what the name of it again is. Small Boat, Big Water, is that right?
Small Sailboat, Big Water.
Small Sailboat, Big Water. Yes, thank you for clarifying because I had it wrong. Speaking of wrong, that's what I wanted to get into for a minute here on the YouTube channel. I got a comment yesterday on my YouTube channel about how I was incorrect of how I defined weather helm. And I thought, oh, well, that's definitely something I don't want to, misinform my viewers about. And I remember specifically that particular moment in this video where I'm like, I know what it is, but I feel like I didn't have confidence in my own definition of it. So I looked up different definitions online of how its weather helm is defined. And I happened to find one that I thought seemed to fit with where I was in this video. Mm-hmm. And so I put that up like how you do too. You can put some text up on the screen. So I gave the definition of what weather helm is. And then this viewer commented that I had it the opposite. And I thought, oh, well, that seems strange because I remember, I'm pretty sure the source was reputable. And so it got me thinking, I've had this happen before a time or two. And for me, when I do these videos, the whole reason why I started doing them was just to kind of share my experience in getting back into sailing as an older middle-aged adult, especially being a woman, because most of the content that I find is typically men with sailing channels, not so many women. But, I never want to ever come across as trying to act like I'm an expert or that what I say is the way it is sort of a thing. So
yeah, I'm definitely not a know-it-all.
Yeah. I try to, impart that I'm just a regular gal learning as I go. And I'm going to get it right sometimes. And I'm probably going to get it wrong most of the time. But that's part of the learning. And so I'm just curious, like for you, with your channel, and you've got quite a few subscribers I see and get a lot of traffic. And so I'm just kind of wondering, do you find that you have sort of, how do you go about trying to impart on your viewership that, hey, I'm like, I don't know, maybe you are really an expert at this, that, and the other sort of thing, but I just kind of feel like this can be a dangerous area with a YouTube channel, especially one that the content is focusing on sailing, because it can be dangerous. You don't know what you're doing.
Right.
You know, so how do you kind of, you know, take that all into account with the videos that you create on your channel?
I just try, I don't write any scripts. I don't know what the video is going to be about before I make it, really. I kind of let it form into itself. And then when I come across information or facts, I just kind of blurt out whatever I think is right. And then I go back and research the heck out of it, because they will bust you in the comments, which they should, you know, because we're putting ourselves in front of the camera like we do know something. So we should do a little research. So I normally just shoot from the hip, and then I go back, and if I need to correct myself before the final cut, I do that. Just research, and sometimes you find different opinions, and you just kind of take a stab at it. And a lot of times I am wrong, and the commenters are so kind. I find, you know, I've only really gotten one really bad comment, and I think the guy was drunk. He was just mad that I took like 5 minutes in the video before I actually showed my boat. Got real upset with me. So I took that to heart, and I made sure in my next video, boom, you're seeing my boat right off the bat. So my channel is very much controlled by the viewer and the comments. I want them to be my rudder, basically telling me where my channel is going. I get a lot of input, like my next 2 videos are going to be based off comments that people have made, you know, about, hey, you should show more of that. Well, that's your next video. So
yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's
a channel for the people.
Yeah, then you can take that feedback and then feed it into the content and like generate additional content. So that's really a good idea. I actually had there was some other comment that I got. Oh yeah, so I had, this is something else I've noticed too, is that I learned that I have to be really careful about how I title my videos, because I had a video, I think it was last season, or no, I think it was 2022. And it was about my Com-Pac legacy and our first launch of the season. So I was basically going from where she's on the hard at my barn's driveway, and then, you know, taking it all the way up to where we rig her, launch her, and get that first sail. Well, and the video title, I did include the words "our first sail," and as well as like launch, rig, and all that. And then I got this comment the other day that was the viewer said, and it said ... and no sailing whatsoever. And I thought, oh, I wonder why they said that. And then I went back and watched the video, and the guy was right. I'm like, oh, well, I mean, I didn't show the sailing footage because it turns out that first day, the conditions were a little gnarly. And I'm like, probably not the safest to be videoing what I'm doing right now, because it's the first sail of the season, and we're trying to get our sea legs, and there's a lot of traffic going on, and there was some wave action going on, even for a little inland lake there was, and it was pretty windy. And I mentioned that when I got back to the slip, sitting in my boat, I'm like, well, these are the things that happened, and it got me thinking, I have to be really careful about how I title these. So I went back and I changed the title and it just said kickoff for the 2022 sailing season. Because then I'm not like, I didn't intend to trick people into thinking, oh, they're going to get a lot of sailing footage. The truth is that sometimes, you can't always get it if the conditions aren't, safe, because safety should come first. And that's at least how I look at it. How do you, handle that sort of stuff? I mean, seems to me, you're sailing on a lot bigger water than I am, of course, and the conditions probably can get a little
my best
spicy.
sailing has never made it on my channel because I'm normally by myself and I can't do everything, and my shots are going to be terrible looking, and I'm holding a camera. So normally most of my sailing is when my boy is on board or it's calmer weather. But this year I really want to use my action camera more and try to capture how intense it can get on Galveston Bay, because it's a big body of water and it's tons of commercial traffic, and it's also very shallow. So it's
Oh,
probably the worst possible place to go sailing, I think.
yeah.
Heavy
Wow.
traffic, very shallow, poor water quality, and I think it's the second highest population of boats in the United States, next to San Diego.
Oh my
So it can be
goodness.
a traffic jam, going under the Causeway Bridge, going out to Galveston Bay. But yeah, this year I really want to use that action camera to really capture how intense it can be.
Yeah, for
Going,
sure.
changing a head sail by yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
No, that's definitely, I got an action camera too, and I have not really put it to use the way it's intended to be used. Like I'll use the little stick with it sometimes and try to get some footage of the boat off in the distance as far as it'll, go. But I think like what you're saying, people that wear the things on their head or on the chest so they can really get a feel for like as if they're there, like this is what it looks like. So I need to work on that aspect of my channel too.
yeah, I have not captured the most scary moments, and that's really when I can step up my game this year. Um, Most of the time I do go sailing by myself, and I love going out when it's really bad because
Yeah.
otherwise it's a little bit boring. Um, and I've gotten good at sailing by myself with that self-steering system with the bungee cord going to the rope. I can go to the foredeck. I tie the rope going to the tiller around my ankle, and then I can do all my head sails, and I can be steering the boat with my foot from the bow, doing all that at the same
Wow.
time. And I haven't been able to show anybody how great that little system that an old sailor taught me is.
Wow. I never even heard of that before.
Yeah, you'll have to try it. It's really cool. You have full control of your boat.
Well, you definitely got to do a video of that when you can.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would like to see that.
So I'm going to get the mounts for the action camera set up, and
yeah, cool.
Better content this year.
Well, what is like for you? I want to get definitely into the history of you with sailing and that part. But I'm just curious, since we're on the YouTube part, and I brought that up first. What prompted you to want to start a sailing YouTube channel?
Well, one of my friends, my best friend's stepson, he went into his bedroom during COVID because he's off school and started playing video games. He set up his camera, and he shot up to 1.9 million subscribers like in a year, making $5,000, $6,000, $8,000 a month. And he was like 18-year-old kid in his bedroom.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And I'm like, and that kind of inspired me, the money, which I'm not into the money now. It's just more for the fun of it. And then I had 3 other friends who got into it and also made a living out of it. And I thought, wow, if I could, I've always tried to make a living out of doing what I love. I got into gardening when I was a kid. So I started a landscape company. Everything I do, I have to go all in. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to overdo it. So I got into gardening. I started a landscape company. I sold that company in Kansas City, Missouri. And I found a J20. I got it. Well, to back up, the first time I ever really saw a sailboat in person, my neighbor down the street, wintertime, he would bring his 25-footer around there at home, and it'd be up on the trailer, and he'd raise the mast, and it just looked so powerful sitting in his driveway. The mast is taller than his house. I was just like, wow, And then one day he invited my dad to go sailing, and then my dad said I could tag along. And I didn't steer the boat. I didn't pull any ropes. They just wanted me as ballast and just stay out of the way. But I remember the moment I was up on the deck, just cruising across the lake, and I said to myself, this is it. You found the coolest thing in the world. And so I was smitten. I mean, completely smitten. So I started, this is in Kansas City, Missouri. I'd go to the library and I'd read every sailing book they had, which was about 4 or 5. And then I'd go to the next library and just devoured all the books in all the libraries, which wasn't a whole lot back then in the 80s in Kansas City, in the Midwest, not a lot of sailing activity. And then in the wintertime, I'd have to get a secondary job because my landscape business would just nosedive as winter came to us. So I got a job as valet parking cars, which is a great job as a kid, driving expensive cars all day. And the owner of the company had a sailboat, and he took me sailing one time, and that just solidified how much I loved it. It was a 19-foot Flying Scot, a great little boat. And he wanted to move up in boats, and he offered to sell me that boat. So I bought it, and I was just head over heels. And we'd get real bored on the lake, so we'd only go sailing when it was like small craft advisory. And I remember the last time I took that boat out, it was blowing at 60-mile-an-hour winds, and we were at Smithville Lake in Kansas City, Missouri. It's just a steady 50, 60, gusting to who knows what. And I remember driving my car with the trailer and the Flying Scot, and we put the stern to the wind to put the mast up. We just lifted it, and the wind just took the mast, wham, just slammed it up, automatically raised the mast. So we're back in the boat into the water. I remember a police officer showed up. He said, you guys can't go sailing today. I'm like, what are you talking about? I said, it's small craft. It's just too windy. And I said, is there any law keeping you from, that you, he said, no, just for your safety. I said, so you can't stop us? He said, no. So we said, okay, see ya, we're going sailing. He said, well, I'm going to stay in the parking lot and watch. He's a cool cop, very nice guy. He stayed there and watched us. And I remember we just flew the jib, but the gusts were so strong. When the gusts would hit, I'd see my friends' heads just jerk back. And so we'd always just go sailing on the worst days, get knocked down and just.
Yeah, that teaches you a lot.
Yeah,
for sure. No, and just like what you were saying about Galveston Bay too, I imagine that must be a really great place to learn, because there's so much, like you said, the traffic at shallow water, the weather can get spicy down there. And so it's just like, all the sort of factors that you need to help build your skill sets as a well-versed sailor.
Yeah. Imagine if I ever do get to cruising grounds, it'll just be heaven for me. My dream is to just be able to sail on clear water, to be able to see the bottom. It's so muddy here, So maybe someday I'll take it down to Florida or somewhere where it's really beautiful.
Yeah, I actually was talking with Squally Heifer of Squally Heifer Adventures about that sort of thing, because he's somewhere near your neck of the woods. He sails off the Gulf Coast. And I was asking him about I'm like, oh, well, do you have any ambitions to, sail across the Gulf of Mexico? And it sounded like he was more looking to go to the Tortugas? And in that area. And then he also was talking about the 23 and how, that would really be the ideal boat to do that sort of thing in. And I think I've read somewhere, don't remember where, might have been on the Com-Pac Yacht Owners Association forum, about somebody who did sail across the Gulf of Mexico in their Com-Pac 23. Is that something that you think you might entertain one day?
I've been out on the Gulf. The Gulf of Mexico is terrible. The waves are very steep, and not a lot of time duration in between the waves. I've sailed the Harvest Moon Regatta, which is from here to almost Corpus Christi. We did it in 29 hours. And I've also been out in the Atlantic in the big swells, which are much more comfortable. The Gulf of Mexico is just so shallow, you really can get beat up bad if it's not on the right weather. So I'm a little leery of the whole Gulf. I'm more comfortable on a big ocean, honestly.
Yeah, but, the wave period is much shorter. I think that's what they call it. No, I totally get that. For me, it's my thing would be trying to I would like to take my boat up to the Apostle Islands in Lake Superior. I used to cruise there as a kid when my parents would charter a larger sailboat, usually between 33 or 42 feet, and we would spend a week. And one summer we actually also sailed up to Isle Royale, and it was the first experience I ever had not seeing land, and that kind of, like, some people I hear say that freaks them out, but for me, I was kind of like, wow, that's cool, so I'm hoping maybe one day to take my 23 and kind of, revisit those trips I used to do as a young person. It's just a really cool area to explore too. But it seems kind of like where you are, there's a lot of cool sailing. I mean, I know you said that the bay can get a bit dicey there, but Texas seems like kind of a hotbed for sailing, which surprised me because when I think of Texas, I think hot, dry, arid, not really lakes and, obviously the coast, I get that part of it, but I think like Austin, don't they have like a pretty big sailing scene there? And I can't remember, there was some other place I was reading, because the reason why I was thinking of Texas is the Sailing Texas website that you talked about in one of your videos. And I used to look at that all the time when I was boat shopping. And that's why I was like, sailing in Texas? What? Like I said, except for the coast, which I get. But yeah, it sounds like it's a pretty cool area. You've got some maritime culture going on, unlike where I live, where there's not so much.
Right.
Not so much.
Yeah, I was raised on a power boat. My family were water skiers. My dad was a big time water skier. He used to pick us up from school with the truck with the boat behind and go straight from school.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, even in the cold fall and early spring days, we'd take off from the dock. You know, we'd only get wet up to our knees or something.
Oh,
but
wow.
I was raised on boats, but my dad was always a power boater. He was raised on Lake Michigan up there.
Oh, okay.
Had a Chris Craft, or his dad had a Chris Craft, and he's got a lot of stories. So it's kind of in my blood, boating for sure.
Yeah, cool. That's the same for me. My dad grew up sailing when he was a kid. His dad taught him, and then I grew up sailing as a kid, and he taught me. So I always tell people my knowledge is like Swiss cheese. It's, you know, I know some things, but then there's lots of holes and gaps. But, you know, I also had almost 30 years off from when I was sailing actively to where I started again, like almost 5 years ago, I guess. So yeah, there's, and things are also a lot different being an older person than being a younger person. And the perspective kind of changes on what you're, you know, trying to accomplish, sort of thing, I guess. You know, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about also is with your Com-Pac 23, I think is she a Mark II? Is what she, or
one?
She's a Mark One. So can you tell us a little about her and how you found her, and also I would love to hear about what sort of any modifications or upgrades you might have made to her since she's been in your stewardship.
Well, my boy found it on Facebook Marketplace, and they wanted $6,500 for it, and it had been I can see the high water mark here. It had taken on some fresh water in a hurricane that we had. We got 62 inches of rain in 3 days. It's a continental United States record. That's over 5 feet of rain in 3 days. Is unbelievable. What was that, Hurricane Ike, or was it Harvey? I can't remember. We've had so many storms down here that have kicked my butt. But yeah, the boat I found it, and let's see, an elderly couple owned it, and then they loaned it out to a woman's sailing club. And I think all the ladies just got a little bit too old, and so it had sat and just got filled with mud daubers and everything else. So I found it, and it was pretty much all original, no modifications, no holes, nothing. It's like a brand new boat, just really dirty. And that's what I wanted. I didn't want somebody else's projects. I wanted something like right out of the factory, just old. So that's what I found, and I offered the guy $4,000, and God told me that don't pay any more than that, so I didn't. I stayed strong, and I think I bought it for about what it's worth. And I had it painted because the hull was in, and I always wanted a black boat. I've always liked piratey looking things. And other than that, what have I done? I've just been sailing the crap out of it. I really haven't done much, really. I've just
painted the boat
to be on the water.
Oh yeah, for sure. When you paint the hull, did you do that, or did you hire somebody to do it?
Oh yeah, I paid the boat yard over here.
Okay.
Yeah, they did the bottom job and then painted the top sides of hull.
Yeah. Okay. So do you happen to know, like, what sort of I asked because there's a guy on the forum, the Com-Pac forum, who's restoring a 23, and he was talking about the kind of the topsides paint he was using. I was curious. Do you remember what it was that they used on your boat?
It was all grip, super jet black, and I think they charged me $2,000, and that included a 2-inch boot stripe painted on.
That sounds like a pretty good deal. Yeah, I think that sounds like a great deal.
And they ferreted it all out. They did an incredible job on it, I really have to say.
How frequently do you have to scrub your bottom there? I would assume you get quite a bit of growth pretty quickly down there because it's warmer climate.
Yeah. I didn't pop it out last year, but I need to. They have like a weekend where it's a really cheap rate and they just pull you out, spray you down, splash you down, back. But you probably want to do it at least every 2 years, maybe every season would be preferable.
Okay. And do you remember what kind of bottom paint they're using on your boat?
Interlux, I believe it was.
Yeah. That's something that I learned, also kind of a hard lesson too, is that when I had my first 23 Nomos, I think we were talking about her just a little bit. She was a cutter rig. On one of your recent videos, there was a little chat and I was doing about that. And when I got that boat, I needed to redo the bottom. And fortunately, the owner, he sent me a picture of the can of paint, but it was kind of covered with paint, the label. So it was kind of hard to figure out. But I'm just like, well, I just do the best that I can. These are the things that I'm talking about. When you don't have access to professional services, because I don't live in a maritime area, you're really kind of on your own. And so I tried to, look for what I thought it was, and seemed like it was the right product. And I'll tell you what, doing a bottom paint is a bear. And it's not even so much the painting, it's the sanding. That was brutal. Full suit, like a
terrible
protection suit, the mask, goggles. That was, and 23-foot boat is not a large boat, but man, I'm like, woo!
I did my 16. I did my 16 by myself. I jacked it up off the trailer, and I swore I'd never do that again. So I think I paid him $1,200 or something like that. I can't remember.
Yeah,
but it is nice having the shipyard right here. It's the largest and the oldest one on the Gulf Coast, Seabrook Shipyard. They used to build submarine destroyers here for the World War II effort. So it's really a famous, awesome place I'm at right now.
So do you have a lot of, I'm curious, like with slip availability and moorings and stuff, is it predominantly slips there and not so much moorings that people use?
No more. There are no moorings around here.
Okay. And then do you have a lot of slip availability, or is that marina facility pretty booked?
Yeah, this one's probably about 95% full, just looking around.
Yeah, I thought that after, COVID's kind of waned a bit, obviously, I thought for sure, like, people would, be like, oh man, owning a boat, expensive, a lot of work, I'm out, and then there'd be more slips that open up. And it's not like at our marina, it was booked for a long time. And just like it's this year, I noticed, because I got a call, which I was so excited about, that I'm going to have the best slip on the dock this season. I'm so stoked because it's the last slip. It's the furthest away from where all the ramp traffic is, and then the fuel dock traffic. And I always think, you know what, I'm becoming a lazy sailor then, because I don't want to like deal with all of that nonsense with people putting their boats in and out of the water and people coming and going at the fuel dock. So I won't have to really do that this season. And I'm grateful that someone decided to move on so that I could have a better slip.
Yeah, I'm real happy with this slip I have. It's on a floating dock. Yeah, I think all the floating slips are taken pretty much at this marina. The non-floating, I saw there's more availability, but the tide can be pretty dramatic, especially in the wintertime with the northern winds blowing out the water out of the bay. I didn't want any part of that.
That's something that I guess I don't have to deal with anything like with tides. I mean, we do have issues with drought. Right now we're in a severe drought, and it's, good thing that our boats are shallow draft, because I think that the deeper draft boats are going to maybe have some issues if we don't get more precipitation. So let's talk about some of your gear. I'm kind of a little bit of a gearhead, but not like, I'm learning, so I don't know a lot of the stuff. But doesn't sound like you have an autopilot or a tiller clutch because you use your bungee cords, right?
I'm the most minimalist sailor you'll ever meet.
Yeah. No, I think that's good. I just was watching somebody else's video. I can't remember who it was, and they were talking about that too. or maybe it was a podcast, but how about for electronics? What sort of gadgets do you have for your electronics?
Nothing.
So not like a depth finder or
no, I don't have a depth finder. I don't
either.
I know. I figured my last boat was a J24, drew 4 feet. So I ran around in enough places around here. I know where, and now I'm at 2.25 feet. I feel like I can do anything. I feel like I'm invincible.
So you know where to go.
Yeah, I just have no fear on this boat. It can go anywhere. It can take anything. I've been in some big waves, and it stands up well to the wind. It's very hard to bury the rail or get the windows wet on this boat. Like the J24, I could knock it over, you know. Yeah. But this boat's so solid.
I was watching one of your videos, and you were talking. I like how you talked about the ballast displacement ratio. And on our boats, it's really good. Like basically what I think I had learned is that for blue water sailing, at least, they say that you want to have a minimum of 0.4,
right,
or 40%. And I think you did use some. I want to say some of the screenshots maybe were from sailboatdata.com. Is that where you got?
Definitely.
Yeah, I like that website too. Yeah, and so I think it's kind of weird because I feel like our boats, I mean, I know they're not designed for blue water sailing, but you know what? I kind of think, well, I mean, with my first Com-Pac 23, they did outfit that boat for coastal cruising, and they sailed the boat in the Sea of Cortez. They sailed the boat up in Alaska, in the Gulf of Mexico, Chesapeake Bay, off the coast of Maine, I think Lake Michigan. So I think that the boats are, if they're outfitted correctly, you could, I don't know. Do you know that young man, Sam Holmes, of Sam Holmes Sailing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So you know his real claim to fame was that he sailed a Ranger 23 from San Diego to
Hawaii.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and Rangers are supposed to be awesome boats. I don't really know a whole lot about them, but from what I've learned about them, they're supposed to be real solid boats. But I'm thinking, wow, if he could do that with that boat, I wonder if you outfitted a 23 right, if you could do it with a Com-Pac 23.
Oh, you absolutely could. I bet you anything. And he talks about how predictive the weather is out on the Pacific, how anything coming, you're going to see it coming from a week away. So he's real confident on that little boat that he could make it without running into any storms or anything with a good forecast.
So are you using, with your iPhone, are you using anything like Windy or Predict Wind or anything to kind of look at conditions before you go out?
Yeah, I sail flow mainly, but I normally check 2 or 3 before I go.
Sail flow. I don't know that one. How does it, just SAILFLOW?
Yeah, I believe it's all one word. It is an app, yeah. It's really good.
Oh, okay.
And it's free.
I'll have to look. Cool.
Yeah. So that's mainly I use that, and then my Navionics.
You do use that?
Yeah, I use it on my iPhone. I just got this iPad, so it's gonna be a lot better this season. I'll be actually able to see it in the bright light, so I'm excited about that. But that's my only electronics. I don't even have lights hooked up yet. I mean, every time I come to the boat, I can either work on it or take it out sailing, and I'm gonna untie every time. Sorry.
Yeah,
I get too old to work on a boat. I see all these boats here. That's what I love about little boats. You walk in, or you go to a marina, the big ones always stay. They don't go anywhere. The little ones are going out every weekend. And that's the guy I want to be, you know. Yeah, that's what my dock mates tell me. And they're like, you're the only one who sails on this dock. I'm like, I know it kind of looks like that, but
yeah. Well, let's talk about some of the sails that you use on board your boat. I'm curious, like, to compare with what I have. I think you do hank on, right? Not a furler?
Yeah, just hank on.
And is that just because you prefer hank on, or what? I mean, because some people, they really love one or the other. I'm curious, like, why do you go hank on? Just because that's the way she came rigged, or?
Yeah, and I'm cheap, and I actually like going forward and raising sails. I think it's the most exciting thing I do while I'm out there is putting them up. And like I went on a date it's probably been a year ago, but this lady had a Beneteau 30 with a furler and a wheel and everything. We went out sailing the same waters that I go out and have a great time on every other weekend. Went out on that Beneteau 30, and it's the most boring day. You don't feel the waves. You never have any fear of going forward. You just pull a rope. Everything's too easy. It's like if I wanted it that easy, I would stay home. You know, I want to be on the edge a little bit. when I come back from a sail, I want to feel like I really accomplished something, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
it's
wow,
a
I
physical
did that.
sport. Yeah, it's totally like a physical sport. And that's interesting that you brought that up, because I was thinking, comparing my legacy to sailing my 23. I couldn't believe the difference in the physical demand that the 23 had compared to my legacy. I just didn't, I don't know why. I mean, I guess I shouldn't be that surprised, but just to pull the jib in, for example, I'm like, wow, this is a lot more sail than what it was, obviously, with a little lapper jib on my legacy, compared to having I did actually get a furler on my 23, and I'm going to tell you something. I would prefer hang-on. But some people have said to me in my comments too, in my videos, well, I couldn't sail single-handed if I didn't have a furling system. But it sounds like you do. And I have another friend on the forum who he sailed his 23 single-handed without a furling system. And I don't recall if you're, so like with my 23, I have to go to the mast to raise my mainsail. But with the furler, obviously, I don't have to go to the mast. So for you, do you have your lines leading aft, or do you have to go to your mast to raise both your mainsail and your head sails?
What did I do last year? I did add a couple pulleys down at the base. So I know I've got the main ran back. I think I just have the main ran back right now, but it's not that far. And once you figure out how to steer the boat when you're not in the cockpit, it opens up everything. It's like having somebody else on board. Because my foot, where I tie the line to, that's my first mate right there. I don't need anybody else. I can steer the boat from the bow. I can do anything. I can drop anchor. I can raise sails.
Wow.
So once you get that and you're comfortable steering with your foot, it's a game changer for sure. It opens up the whole world.
So what head sails do you primarily sail with in your area then? Do you have like a set of like a storm sail and
yeah, what do I have? I've got an 80, a 100, and a 120 or something like that, and a 150, the full Genoa.
Do you have a spinnaker?
No.
Do you have any aspirations to get one?
I would like to, yeah. I flew it one time. I sailed with a professional sailor, and he was amazing. And we flew the spinnaker that day, and I didn't know that J24 could be that much fun. Throwing that big kite out front. Yeah, I would love to do that again. It's really, really fun.
I don't have a spinnaker pole nor a spinnaker on my boat, and it's something that I've thought about. I remember with my boat as a kid using the spinnaker, and I thought it was the best thing ever. And then there's all sorts of other kinds of sails like code zeros and other like asymmetrical spinnakers, and I don't really understand all of the different options that there are, but that's always been something that I thought, well, back in the day for me, it was just like a regular spinnaker, and then we had a 170 drifter for our boat. But like I said, there's so many more variations, it seems like, and also different kinds of fabrics you can use to have the sails made from. And it's definitely, I need to take a class on it or something, because there's just so many choices. But for me though, getting back to that furling head sail, when I was looking to buy my boat, it actually was hang-on. And then the gentleman that I purchased her from, Keith Scott at the Sailboat Company in North Carolina, who's a Com-Pac dealer.
Right.
He really is like, well, you should really, consider the furler. You'll love it. And, and so he convinced me to have it installed, and I did. But I'll tell you, it seems like it should be a pretty straightforward thing, which I'm sure it is for most people. But I did run into some hiccups along the way with trying to set it up. And then also, I think just, for unfurling it and furling it can sometimes be a little tricky. It seems like I only have used it one season. So I really, I should probably be fair and not make too many judgments about it. But I definitely feel like I do prefer the hang-on to it as of now, at least. We'll see. I'll see how this season goes with it. And
seems more pure. Anything, I'm always going to be on the side of mechanical over electrical, and just simple. I didn't want it. This boat has no through holes.
Yeah, mine doesn't either.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, which means this boat could sit in the water for 20 years. As long as you keep the fresh water out, it's going to be fine. It's not going to sink. And there's lots of boats that sink around here. I have a cousin who lives in an apartment right on Clear Lake. He's always sending me pictures of sunken 40-footers that anchor out here. And that's a through hole.
Yeah. No, I had 7 of them on my first 23. And I got really freaked out about it because, the boat was from 1990 and I was reading the survey that came with the boat, which was from maybe 10 years before I bought it. And, I didn't have anybody to survey the boat where I was. I didn't have anybody to survey the boat where I purchased her from. And so I only really bought the boat because the person selling it was also on the forum, and I just trusted them that the boat was as represented, which it was. She was, but yeah. Once I started learning more about those through holes, and like your friend Chris that you went to see in Kansas City, that has his 23 up there, and those 3, one for for speed, and then the other 2 for the head, I think is what you were saying. Right. On your video, and I just thought, well, that's 3 too many for me.
I know.
So the only ones I have are just on the back for the scuppers, on the stern rather, the 2 scuppers, and then there's one for the bilge, where the bilge pumps out. That's a little higher on the stern, and then there's a 4th, which is where the motor, the outboard fuel lines can pass through.
Yeah, so they're all way above the water line.
Those are. Yeah. What engine do you use on your boat?
A little Honda 5 horsepower long shaft. Yeah, which I love. This little thing. I love it. It's so easy to start, first or second pull.
Yeah. Okay. I have a 6 horsepower. I think it's a Tohatsu. I thought it was a Mercury, but I was wrong about that. That was I talked about that in my last podcast. I thought that it was a Mercury, but I think it's a Tohatsu. And it's I've been reading a lot of those Lynn and Larry party books, like I mentioned on one of my comments on your videos recently, and they sailed around the world engineless in two wooden sailboats. And I keep reading stories of other people who do it, and I think, wow, I wonder if that's I don't know. I sometimes feel like I really want to learn how to get in and out of the slip, sail off the anchor, without using the engine. But, those are all things that for me probably will have to wait, because even the engine itself for me can be a bit foreboding, because it's if mine doesn't sound like it's probably as reliable as yours is. And so there have been times when we're either leaving the slip or coming back and the engine will die, and it gets a little, it can be a little nerve-wracking. But again, these are all things that we need to, it goes with the territory, and these are things that make us better sailors and better boaters in general.
My J24, I sailed in and out of the slip a lot, just because the boat was just it's the best boat I've ever sailed. The feel of it, it can go straight into the wind, it can turn on a dime. I haven't gotten to the point where I'm that comfortable here, and I'm not maybe in a slip that I could do it. I'm by the fuel dock, and anybody knows this area, the current around the Seabrook Shipyard fuel dock is like a river.
Oh, yeah, I bet. Yeah, no, that would be a whole other set of challenges when you're talking tides and currents and all that, for sure. Like I'm so naive about all that. Like I'd have to hire a captain or somebody to help me with all that if I took my boat down that way, because I don't really, like, I don't have to contend with those sorts of things with inland lake sailing. I want to go back to your J24. Well, how did you decide to get that boat? Were you into the racing thing, or
No, I'm anti-racing. I go out on the water to life is a race. I try to get away from all that.
Yeah.
No, I was in Kansas City, and this is before the internet, so I'm just flipping through. I would go to the classifieds and back of Cruising World, Sailing Magazine, Sailing World. And I saw J24. I just loved the look of it. And then I started studying about it. And I think Sailing Magazine had named the J24 the best sailboat ever made under 40 foot. So I'm like, wow, I got to go see this. And said it was in Houston. I didn't know where Houston was. I knew it was somewhere in Texas. So I came down here and found the boat and went on a sail and loved it. And I liked the area. And I stuck around and I lived on the boat for probably a year here at the shipyard, right where I'm at. And then one day I sailed down to Galveston Island, which is maybe an 8-hour sail. And when I pulled up to the dock, I saw a beautiful woman there holding hands with her boyfriend. They're out, you know how you walk docks looking at boats. And they helped me dock my boat, and I locked eyes with her. We were married like 3 months later. That's how that happened. But yeah, and then I sold the...
That's a great story.
Yeah, I sold the J24. Actually traded it for a Tahiti Ketch. I don't know if you know what that is. A 30-foot double ender. It was a gaff-rigged ketch. It was actually ferro cement. Awesomely strong boat. It had been very well built, and then it was covered with a layer of fiberglass. So it looked like a fiberglass boat. You never know it's ferro cement. And I sold that boat, and about maybe 6 months later, it had another hurricane hit us, and it had washed that boat, which weighed 12,000 pounds empty, up into the parking lot about 5 foot away from the swimming pool. It almost made it into the swimming pool, which would have been awesome.
Oh my goodness.
And they didn't have a crane big enough to get it out of the little spot it was wedged in, so they had to crush it up with jackhammers or whatever.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, but it was an awesome boat. I show a picture of it in one of my videos. I also painted that one black, and it really looked like a pirate ship with the Sitka spruce mast and mizzen, and it was an awesome boat.
Oh, I'm so sorry that happened. How long ago was that?
And probably about 10 years ago. But I had sold it right before the hurricane to a young fellow.
Oh.
So he took the loss, not me, sadly. But
wow. Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
and then after that, what did I have? I think I had a little Chrysler Mutineer for a little bit, and then I got the Com-Pac 16, and I kept that for probably 5 years.
Yeah, let's kind of talk about that boat, because that was the boat that I discussed in my very first podcast. I've never had the pleasure of sailing on one, but the Legacy is basically the new version of the 16, of course. But I hear nothing but great things about that boat. And, you know, your most recent video with Chris in Kansas City again, he has one. Do you remember what year his is? I can't remember if it was mentioned in the video.
His 23 was a 92. No, I can't remember. I know it's a Mark II, though.
Okay.
Very,
and
very
I don't
nice.
remember what the breakdown is with the 16s as far as the different generations. But what was yours?
I had a Mark I, so no bowsprit.
Okay, right. Okay. Yeah.
And I kind of heavily modified that boat as far as I took a trolling motor, and it's 55-pound thrust, something like that, and I cut off the control head of it, and then I put a through hole in the stern, basically like a outboard motor well, but going to a fiberglass 2-inch tube. So I shoved the trolling motor up in there, so it was like an electric pod motor under the boat. So I'd be pulling into the marina. Everybody's like, how is he doing this? You know, it's silent. There's no motor on the boat. They know it doesn't have an inboard diesel. They couldn't figure it out. I'm just that good.
Wow, that's a pretty cool little, yeah.
Yeah,
I like that.
I love that. I love that. I really miss my 16. Being able to take it home trailer was really nice, you know, work on it.
Those are definitely, when it comes to rigging the Legacy and the 23, I'm assuming it's the same with the 16 and the 23. It's like night and day. You know, with a 16 and the Legacy, it's pretty lickety split. I was able to rig my Legacy once we got to the ramp. I think it took me like 20 minutes, and then we were ready to splash the boat.
Yeah. Now
with the 23, not so much. That was a lot. But again, it was my first time doing it last season. So I'm sure it'll go faster. The learning curve won't be quite as, you know.
Get your procedures down,
right? Yeah. Yeah. No, there's just a lot. There's definitely, it's weird, like how much, well, it's not weird. It's not that. It's just interesting to me how much, you know, for a 23-foot boat, it's really a big boat, I think. You know, it's a very substantial boat. There's a lot. It's not that it's complex and that you can't figure it out, sort of thing. It's just that there's some more things involved. You know, there's you've got 3 side stays, port and starboard. You got your forestay backstay on the Legacy. I just have a single stay, port starboard, and a head stay. There's no backstay. It's a hinged mast. It's just a matter of just pushing it up. Once the pin is in on the mast up, and sure. But with the 23, I had to have a crane.
Yeah.
To lift it. I know people. I don't know if you. I think you said you did do one. Did you make a mast bracing system for your boat?
No, I know the boat Nick did.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And the guy that had my first 23, Ron Chappell, I'm not sure if it's Chappell or Chappelle, he created a mast rigging system, and he had an article that he wrote in Good Old Boat Magazine about it, which is still out there online. I'll put a link to it in the show notes for people if they're interested to see that. But it was basically, single person can raise the mast. He had some sort of a bridle system to kind of steady the mast from swaying from side to side. But yeah, I don't have anything like that on my boat. I just use the crane. But I should tell people, if they're interested, that Com-Pac actually does sell a mast rigging system for the 23. I think it's really? I think it's a couple, somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000. I can't remember.
Ooh,
for sure.
I think I'll skip that. I can take it over to the marina. They charged me $200 to take it down and put it up last time.
Yeah.
Which is all right. 3 guys. It took 3 guys to do it.
Yeah, it was. I think it was. Well, so there were 2 guys on deck, and then 1 person at the winch, and then I was helping with attaching the forestay, and then I guess so. So it was basically like 4 people for my boat. So so like I said, a lot sort of a different experience. The 23 is a trailerable boat, but it's not like, I'm sure there may be people who maybe do take it every weekend places to sail, but for me, I don't think that I would be as motivated.
Yeah, me neither. It's not fun for me to raise it.
Yeah.
All that and splash it every time. Yeah.
What other plans do you have for this coming? Well, I guess you're already sailing. You don't have to, like, for me, my season starts April 1st, and I have some ideas about maybe taking my Legacy some places to go sailing. But with your 23, are there any sort of, I don't know, I don't want to use the word goal, but plans, I guess, that you have where you want to go? Like, do you want to go like for a week-long cruise or a weekend? And typically, are you just day sailing, or do you actually take her out for like a week at a time?
No, I'll go day sailing and maybe anchor out in one of the anchorages around here. There's a party cove in the back of Clear Lake, which is super protected and surrounded by multi-million-dollar houses. Just a beautiful place, and lots of people go back there and anchor and party. So I like to go sailing all day and then just go park it back there and drop the hook and wake up the next day and just maybe sail Clear Lake and then put it back. But just overnight trips like that. But my major goal for this year is I'll sail out to Redfish Island, which is an island out in Galveston Bay, maybe 8 miles away, something like that, 5 miles away. But mainly I'd like to sail it back down to Galveston Island, which is a good trip. It's about 8 hours probably, maybe more, depending on the weather. And it's fun having it down there. It's a good destination.
Wow. So are there other people that you will like buddy boat with when you do things like that? Like friends that you guys go out sailing together sort of a thing? Or do you pretty much just usually you're on your own?
Yeah, I'm kind of a loner. So, but I would like to get on more boats. I have, there's a couple of doctors from the Ukraine down the dock. I went sailing with them last year. There was a blood moon eclipse at midnight one night. Yeah. And we went out with them and sailed all night under the red eclipse. That was really awesome.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, wow. There's a lot of invites because everybody always needs somebody to go on their boat. And I kind of put the word out if anybody needs crew, My favorite thing is on other people's boats because I know what my boat's all about.
Yeah. And you know what? I think it's great to get experience from other boats because they're rigged differently. Like I took an ASA a couple of ASA courses a couple seasons ago up in Minneapolis, and those were on 123, which is a lot different from our Com-Pac 23s. I mean, obviously there's similarities, but yeah, I mean, it was just it was a good experience, you know, not just because you're learning the ropes, pardon the pun, but it's just to be on a different kind of boat. And this coming season, my parents are going to be chartering a Beneteau, I think it's a 42, I can't remember, something out of Newport, Rhode Island. Is that where that is?
Yep.
It's a big sailing city or town, whatever. I've never been there, but we're having kind of like a family reunion there, and I was like all mad at my parents, like, well, why didn't you tell us? Because we would have wanted to go in with you on that, you know. So I would like to be able to at least maybe rent a day sailor, because I don't think we'll be able to charter, because we do not have the in the ASA program. There's like the first class is like basic keel boat, and then once you do that, you go to I think it's not bareboat cruising. I'm trying to think what the second one's called. 103. We did that one, and then the next one is the bareboat charter course, which is what basically gives you a certificate to present to charter companies that you're qualified. And so we don't have that. And so even though we have our own boat and I don't think that we'll be probably able to charter, but maybe we could rent a day sailor. I don't know. I'm curious to see how that will unfold. But the reason why I want to do it is, you know, I do want to kind of get some experience on other boats. And the marina where I am, you guys probably have one or more yacht clubs there. And ours is, you know, they have like races. They're fun races. You know, it's not like a super competitive thing. And they have like a women's race one during the summer, and then there's the series races, and they have other functions and stuff. And one guy there, he was that I met when we were taking the boats out of the water last season. He was like, "Oh, you know, you should come on my boat and crew for us." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, maybe I should." You know, that would be. He has like I think he has a 30-foot something, or a Catalina or something. I can't remember, but yeah, I'm a game.
Yeah, that's really what I want my future to be. Just I would love to get my life down to just owning a car, a backpack, and go crewing on other people's boats from here on out. I'm kind of getting close to retirement, and I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. And that's kind of, I would love to just go around making videos of other people's boats and our experiences, you know, go out and have a good time and feature their on my channel.
Do you have any aspirations of like heading out to, say, either the Caribbean or through the canal and off to, you know, the Galapagos or French Polynesia, Fiji, you know, Vanuatu, any of those? Do you have any aspirations to, not maybe on your own boat, but like you said, like crew finders or crew seekers? Right. I think there's some of those websites that people use to, you know, get on boats so they can get out and explore and adventure.
Yeah, well, my daughter's starting Texas A&M, so she's college bound next year. My boy is starting high school. He'll be a freshman. So once they start their lives, I'll be more free to not have to stick around the Houston area and to really get to where I want to go, somewhere more beautiful.
Do your kids, I mean, I know you said your son sails with you. Does your daughter sail too with you?
She's been out twice with me, yes.
And so they both like it and enjoy it?
Oh, they dig it. Yeah, they dig it. Yeah. My boy's staying. He spent more time on the water this year with me, and
that's cool.
I could use the help, you know. It's nice having a board you can trust.
I think that is one of my most favorite, precious child memories is my father teaching me to sail and being on the boat. I feel like that, for me, was where I discovered what peace is, you know, being out in the water, sailing. It was just, I mean, obviously, you know, conditions can be, like I said, spicy and challenging, but when there are those moments, it's just like, it's just absolute bliss and peace. And
it is.
There's nothing else.
Once I discovered it, it changed my whole life. The whole trajectory of my life changed. Once I got on a sailboat, I was like, this is it. There's nothing better on this planet than this, in my opinion. Maybe flying an airplane, but still, you got to land and go through all that. But the freedom, I've always been about freedom. Like, I've never really had a job. I've always owned my own business since 1985. I've been in business for myself with my gardening and landscape businesses. And once I sailed to Galveston, met my wife. Then we got married, and what was I doing? I was working at the Blue Water Ship Store, selling boat parts, making nothing, probably minimum wage. They don't retail, they don't pay anything. And one day I went to Galveston, just driving around, and I found a plant nursery. It took up a whole city block. It's right off the Strand, which is a real hip area, kind of where Mardi Gras is and stuff like that. And this nursery had everything. It had huge fountains imported from Mexico and had inventory, and they sold koi fish and aquatic plants. And it turned out that the business was, I was like, this nursery has everything, but it's not ran right. I could tell. And it turns out that the business was actually a front for a south of the border import business, I found out after I bought it. But anyway, so I found that place, and I got hired on as a designer because I was designing landscapes back then. And then I became assistant manager, then manager, and then the owner came to me, and I had turned the business around, and we were making bank. And he was starting to feel the heat from the feds coming onto him, catching up with all his evil doings, I found out.
Wow.
So he came to me and offered to sell me the business, so I bought that business, and it's the best thing I ever did. I bought it for not a lot of money. He was in a tight spot.
Yeah.
It turned out to be a real blessing for me to get in on a business that was already set up, just didn't have the management in place.
Yeah. Did that give you some like flexibility in your schedule? Like since you were the boss, you could,
Well, one year I worked 200 days in a row. So I didn't have, but I was at my own nursery, with the water and the music. And so even being at work was fun, but I was behind the cash register 200 days in a row.
Wow.
One year. And then they started developing the west end of Galveston Island, a bunch of $1 million beach houses. And I got in with a builder, and then he joined up with another builder, and they became the biggest builder, and they just threw me job after job, and there are no bid jobs. Just get in there and do it. They don't care if it's $20,000 or $50,000. Just do it. Have it done by this date. These are people's vacation homes, which are multi-million dollars. So money is just not even an object. They don't care. They don't care. They just want it done so that when they have that big party to show off their house, everything looks perfect. They don't care if sometimes they would say, we don't even need a quote because the quote's going to take too long. You've already landscaped everybody's house on the street and they love you. So just do what you did for them. Yeah. Send us a bill. So
wow.
I got real good at, I would go to them and tell them how much it was going to be. And then I'd come back at the end of it lower. They're like, how are you coming back with a lower price? But I had built that in the front side so I could lower it in the back. And then that was buying me advertising. So they'd always tell me, who comes back asking for $1,000 less than what we were expecting to pay you? But I knew that average $1,000, they would go to that neighbor and that neighbor. And so I became kind of the biggest landscaper. Well, I was for many years in Galveston.
Wow.
But in 2009, it all crashed. With the economy crashed, everybody got real scared with spending money. And at the same time the economy crashed, we were getting back-to-back just hurricanes. Like I remember one time I put in a $40,000 landscape and the lady had it for a day and a half. And a hurricane came in. And I remember the hurricanes coming across the Gulf, and she owed me the second half, like $20,000. She said, I'll be down to Galveston next week. And I said, no, I need the money right now. We got a hurricane coming here. It's like a Cat 3 or 4, So I drove up to Houston, got the money, and she was so mad at me. Like it was my fault the hurricane took everything. But it took away it took the palm trees, all the plants, the dirt, her driveway, it took like 6 feet of sand out from underneath her house. It's like a bomb went off. Just unbelievable, the damage that these hurricanes can do.
Yeah, and the timing of it, who would have, who would know? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So for years after the hurricane, we had like back-to-back hurricanes, the economy collapsed. People were not really wanting to spend money on their temporary gardens on the beach. So I had tons of people for the old landscapes who were asking me to maintain the landscapes after I did it, but I said no because I was too busy going on to the next one. You have to hire somebody else. So I went back and just called all those people. We'll maintain it now if you want. So we switched almost overnight to a maintenance company, which made steady work for my crew. And instead of hiring and firing as the jobs come in and out. But
yeah. So how long is it? You're not still doing that now though, right?
No, I still do it. Yeah, this might be my life here. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. All right.
It's hard to quit. It's a very free job. Nowadays I don't even meet my customers. They're all big wigs up in Houston with their beach houses, and they get referred to me. So I've got maybe half my customers I've never met.
Yeah. But
so it's a lot of fun.
Like you enjoy the work,
Oh, I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really good. So when your son is out of high school, that's when you said you think you're going to kind of look to maybe shift into that next phase of maybe big time travel. My girlfriend's from the Philippines, and I would love to go back over there with her. Oh yeah. Oh, there's supposed to be some great sailing over there too. I was another one of those Lynn and Larry party books where they were in that area and region, and I read a couple other cruiser stories. I always like to ask people, you mentioned reading lots of books when you were getting interested in sailing. Are there any books that you would recommend, whether it's a how-to book or like an adventure sailing story? What
it's
sort of
been so long. I actually got rid of all my sailing books. I took them to some bookstore and traded them in. When I think I told you I just sold my 5-acre little horse ranch. I was into horses also. My wife
we share that horses. In common. Yep.
Yeah, right. So no, I can't even remember any names because I read them so long ago and put them aside. I don't even know if
what other websites do you think that would be good for people if they're wanting to learn, whether you're looking for a blue water boat or just something like a day sailor, or do you have any recommended websites that you would tell people about?
YouTube. I just am such a fan of YouTube.
What was it about the Com-Pac 23 that you decided to go with that boat? Like what, I know why I chose that, like why I was pretty much honed in after all the research that I did. I'm like, okay, this is the brand that I want to go with. For you, I mean, I know you had the 16 first. So was it just because you knew about the reputation, or
before I got there, every time I drove to Houston, there's a Com-Pac dealer on the side of Interstate 45 going into downtown. It's called Lynn's Sailboats, and I know you are interested in becoming a Com-Pac dealer. And he was, and I'd drive by and I'd just see the hulls of these boats and just like, wow, whoever designed that, I love that style. And then just getting more into it. And first, the look of it got me, the classic lines. And then I'm such a numbers guy. A lot of my videos, I'm talking about the capsize screening number, the displacement, and all. I'm really into the numbers. And the numbers for this boat they just look better than anything out there,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
it's hard to compare.
Even with like the 16 and the Legacy, I think the same. Like they're for their size, it's one of the things I thought that was remarkable with my Legacy. As soon as I first got in the boat after we launched it for the very first time, she's in the slip and I stepped on the boat, I was expecting like, woo, and then no, it's just like the boat feels so much bigger than the 16 foot 6 inches LOA that it is. It's amazing. And the same with the 23, like that 23 to me feels like my 27 foot sailboat. It's just such a substantial boat. It's not, I don't know. I'm
such a minimalist. My boat is very light. So I actually keep water, like drinking water under these settees. They're full of water, gallon, and then the little handheld. So that's how I keep it more stable, because I am truly a minimalist. I didn't used to be. I used to have a lot of things, but going through the divorce and just trying to simplify and restart my life and get rid of a lot of things. So
sure. Yep. I like the idea of being minimal. And again, that's why I look to get the boat that I have now versus the one that I had before. No through holes.
Mm-hmm.
No, I didn't have a head. I didn't want a head,
Right.
obviously. I just wanted a, a portable solution for that.
Right.
I do have a water tank on board, but it's not hooked up, and I don't plan to hook it up. I do have that slide out sink too. Do you have one on your boat? The slide out sink?
No. I've got a sink on this little table here.
Oh yeah, it's
but,
underneath the
it's really where it's kind of worthless to me.
Yeah.
No,
mine. I don't have it hooked up. I don't have a stove on my boat. I could very easily put one on there. Of course, I just I like it simplified like that. It just, I think for me too, it's just a matter of, like we were talking horses. I've got 5 horses. I've got 5 dogs. I've got 6 cats. I've got 20 acres. I got a lot of stuff I got to take care of at the farm. And so for me, with the 2 boats, it's like I try to, keep things manageable, and that to me was key with this new 23 that I got. It was just less things to have to, deal with. So for me, I feel like it's like my dream boat for where I am right now. But I do have to say, like one day, I kind of do have a dream of getting a boat that would be kind of more of a blue water boat. I like the old fashioned full keel design boats a lot. Like we talked about, Jerome Rand on Sailing into Oblivion, my recent podcast with him and his West Sail 32.
Yeah.
Those are they're awesome boats. So I don't know. One day I think I will probably end up in something like that maybe, but I don't think I always want to have my 23 because it's hard. They're hard to find in really good condition. First of all, I think that there are a lot of them out there that you can find that sometimes need so much love. And some people are cool with that. They want to get into the projects. And, if I have more time one day, I would be more inclined to do that too. But for where I am right now, I'm good.
Yeah, so I just love small sailboats. Like some people are like, yo, you're going to get a bigger boat. And I'm like, well, actually, my next boat might be a flick of 20. I might go 3 foot shorter.
Those are awesome. I've actually thought about those too. I thought about the Dana. The Orion too, because it's the 28 footer, and I thought, that would be a pretty sweet boat too. But how those other ones that are cool are those little not the Bristol Channel cutter. There's a 22 footer that's by this, I think the same people.
Fairmount or
I can't remember what it's called, but anyway, I know. I've thought about the smaller boat too, like the Flicka. Those boats have. I think circumnavigated, from what I understand. Some of them.
I wouldn't doubt it. There's one. There's an old man. He's probably about 85. Invited me on his boat down there, and it had a full enclosed head with a stand-up shower. And I'm like, how did they do this in 20 feet?
Yeah,
the cockpit is like 4 foot long. That's where they get it. The Com-Pac, I think the cockpit. I wish it was a little bit smaller and the cabin was a little bit bigger.
Yeah,
but it's about as close as I could get to the way I would design a boat. This Com-Pac 23 is pretty close. Yeah,
no, it does have a very sizable cockpit, which is one reason kind of why I wanted to get the 23 too, for I could bring family down. And with the Legacy, it can be a little challenging to get 4 adults in the cockpit, but you can do it. It's just, well, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that you would like to tell our viewers, anything else that we should cover. I don't know if there's something specific that you wanted to share with people, or
if you'd like to have me come sail or interview you or any viewer out there of your boat, I would love to do it. That's what I'd like to do in 24. I really like to travel a lot and sail on other people's boats. I've been sailing Galveston Bay for so long. I've kind of been here, done it. And there's a whole world. Like my girlfriend, she's only been here from the Philippines 10 years. And she's seen more of the United States than I have. Because I got married and I went straight to work. I'm a family man, and just, taking care of the family and supplying everything they wanted was a big priority to me. So I've really had my nose to the grindstone and just been sailing these waters. And I'm kind of getting burned out on it a little bit. I need to push myself out there further, but I really want to sail on other people's boats, make videos of it. And it'll give me an opportunity to do road trips and sail on some water I haven't been on before. So that's really where I want to take my channel, is featuring other people's boats, because y'all have seen mine and I've seen this water. I want to see other boats and meet other people. And I'm running out of good years. You know, I'm 54, and I know by 65 I might not be as excited to jump out and, you know, do these type of things.
You and I are the same age, so I hear you. I hear you. I totally hear you. I know exactly what you're talking about. I want to get out there and do it while I can. I hope to be doing it when I'm 80 something. Like I hear other sailors. I've read some stories of people who
the old Sea Dog, right?
Yeah, well, him. And then there's a lady. I can't think of her name. Darn it. She's 82, I think, and she's circumnavigated several times, but she's doing it right now. She's 82. And
and Lynn Parday is still at it.
Yeah, she is. Yep. And she's, I think, in her late 70s, I think.
Yeah.
So, you know, sailing is something you can do pretty much throughout your whole life, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty, I just, you know, there's, whether you're in a little sunfish, whether you're on Endeavor 42, whatever you're doing, you know, there's a boat for everyone, I think. I think that there really is. There's a boat for everyone. I wanted to ask you if you could, so I know, mention your YouTube channel one more time so people know.
I'm at Small Sailboat, Big Water.
Okay.
Describes me perfectly.
do you have any other like online, like Instagram or Facebook or any of that jazz that you use?
Yeah, I do have a Facebook. I really haven't done, I'm just now getting into that.
Yeah, me too. Just actually signed back up yesterday.
Yeah, I was on it when it first came out, and then I got paranoid of the whole thing and dropped out and didn't like Zuckerberg or whatever I was going through. I wouldn't dig it at all, but now I'm like, well, you got to kind of accept this is the way things are, you know.
Is your Facebook the same name too? Then
it is a Small Sailboat, Big Water. Yes.
Okay, and no Instagram or a website or anything like that. Then?
I had a girl set me up on Instagram, but I can't find it. I don't know what the name is. It's embarrassing. I'm 54. I'm old.
I had one too, and I don't use it. I took it down. I used it for like maybe 3 months, and I'm like, it gets to be a lot with doing YouTube, and I like to kind of stay a little more focused and not spread out so much. And then I also do a website, so it's in a blog. So for me, I have my energy in that as well. So I don't do you make Instagram.
Your own music for your videos in the ukulele? Is that what I heard?
I did at the ukulele. Wow. I used to do that. But this past season I started, it's really cool. YouTube has a YouTube library, audio library, and the songs are free. And so you can search by, genre, mood. They also have even like sound effects, like if you want to hear wind or crickets or, so I started taking advantage of that this past season, and I found some really cool music that I really like a lot. That's kind of, I think people could probably only take so much ukulele playing on my part and my singing, but not that I'm trying to, be negative.
You're really good. You're really good.
You're sweet. Thank you. That's really sweet of you to say that. Thank you, Mitch. I love it. I love it. And you know what? Ukuleles and sailboats go hand in hand. They're, it doesn't take up much room. It's a perfect instrument to take on board a sailboat, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, I do use the YouTube audio library now, which I'm really digging that. But you know what? I am just so tickled to have had this opportunity to connect with you, and I just am excited to like build on our relationship and share our stories. And
a couple Midwesterners who into horses and sailboats. That's we'll have to do some horsey stuff too at some point. Talk about that. Oh yeah, I have just as many horse stories and wrangling. I used to do some wrangling at the Astrodome for the Grand Entry Parade and stuff like that.
My gosh.
All kinds of horse stuff and
transporting.
And my kids my daughter, she still has a horse.
Cool.
We used to, like you, we had 4. Our barn would hold 4. We normally had 5. One, like a little miniature roaming around without a stall. But my daughter and ex-wife are way into it. So
it's definitely one of my passions. Let's put it that way. I definitely have to always have horses in my life. And same with sailing. Or being on the water. You know, it's just part of who these things that are just part of who we are, and we have to honor those things and keep them present in our lives so that we can live fulfilling and enriched lives. You know, that makes us better people, you know.
I've always liked the timeless things, like gardening is timeless, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And sailing is, I mean, we're pretty much sailing the same. I mean, this boat what was the boat? An 82? And pretty much nothing has changed.
Yeah.
There's a what are the new ones? Mark 3 or 4. There's one down the dock, actually another Com-Pac 23. It's for sale for $57,900.
Holy cow.
And it's 2 years old. It's 2022. $58,000. I'm like, dang. That thing's going to be on the market for a while, I think.
Yeah, I think so. That's one thing I've kind of noticed, is that I do feel like the price of sailboats is, I don't know about power boats. I haven't been looking into that so much lately, but it does seem like they're kind of coming down considerably from what I recall during the COVID craze. But yeah, for a brand new boat, I think I priced one out, and I didn't choose all the bells and whistles because I'm just not that kind of person. You know, I don't want all the bells and whistles. I like it simple, like how you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was probably around the upper 50s. So that boat probably has some bells and whistles if they're asking that much, and it's 2 years old, I'm guessing. But is it on Sailing Texas? I'll have to look and see if I can find it.
I believe it is.
I'm curious.
featured in one of my, Yeah, it sure is. I always like the fact, I always want to sail a boat where if I go out and run it into something and it sinks, I come back and have a beer, and who cares? I go buy another one. It's $4,000, you know?
Yeah.
Who cares? It's not like I sunk everything into it.
Yeah.
You know?
No, it's definitely one of those things where, you know, if you start looking at it with all the money that you put into it, it can kind of,
it takes the joy away from me.
Yeah, the bring another the BOAT.
Break out another 1,000.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
it's anti-sailing to me. Once you complicate it, you've taken the joy out of it.
Yeah.
Like the Ukrainian doctor that I went sailing with, I told you, I saw him the other day. He goes running down the dock, like full running to his car, and he comes running back with a tool bag in his hand. I'm like, that's a through haul. His boat's sinking right now.
Oh my God!
I don't want to be that guy. I can see the fear.
No,
how you doing? He didn't even have time to stop and talk to me. Comes running back with the tool bag, gives me a look like
that's a scary thing. I saw a boat almost sink. It was a power boat, but a few seasons ago there was a power boat at one of our docks that it was the plug. They forgot to put the plug in after they launched the boat.
Oh, wow.
And it was sinking. They were out having beers and eating lunch up at the cafe, and their boat we're like, this boat's taking on water. So we ran up to let the staff know because they needed to do something about it. But yeah, well, let's stay in touch. And
definitely.
And I am gonna be excited to see what new videos you have coming out with your content, and hearing your stories. And I loved that the recent video you did with Chris was so cool. I wish I would have known you guys were getting together. I would have driven down to hang out with y'all.
No kidding.
It's not that far.
Yeah, I feel like I'm getting better at making videos that people want to see, and that's what I want to do, is make content that people actually want to see. And through the comment section, that's what lets me know. So when people leave comments, I love the negative comments too, because I need that.
I don't know that I love them, but I appreciate them.
Yeah, right. That's what I mean. That's right.
They do help. They help you see it in a different light. Like I said, like, you know, when I thought about that title where I said, I don't want to be misleading. And I also never want to misinform, you know, I would never do that purposely, obviously. And I do try to do my research. My skills or background is in training and teaching. So it's all about making sure that we have facts and figures straight. But I will tell you that, you know, I am human, and sometimes there are oversights, you know, but that's what's good about viewers too, is that they can be that extra set of eyes and say, hey, you know, did you know that you did that? Or, hey, maybe this would be something you could do next time, or, you know, and I do really appreciate that. I think, you know, that's really a big plus for me. I do it because I love to be creative and I love to share stories and help people. But yeah, I mean, it does take a lot of time, as you know, to make those videos. But it's a labor of love, I think.
It is.
And yeah, I enjoy it a lot. And I enjoy your videos. They're really good. You're really good. So keep doing it.
I appreciate the encouragement.
Yeah. Well, Mitch, it's been wonderful. And like I said, definitely please stay in touch. And I really wanted to say so many thanks to you for your time. And it was really fun to be able to sit with you while you're on your boat too. I really love that.
Good. I'm glad I had fun too.
Okay. Well, you take good care.
Okay.
Bye. Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode with Mitch from Small Sailboat, Big Water. I had a great time hanging out with Mitch, talking sailing, Com-Pac 23s, life, and everything in between. I love Mitch's contagious, can-do attitude and how he both puts his heart and soul into all that he sets out to do. Be sure to visit Mitch on his YouTube channel and Facebook page at Small Sailboat, Big Water. Links provided in the show notes and video description. If you're enjoying my videos and new podcast series, please consider supporting a regular gal, me, along her journey of learning all things sailing by following my website, passagesfromtheheart.wordpress.com, and also by subscribing to this YouTube channel. Until next time, fair winds.